Welcome to Seat Time, everybody, the off-road show that brings you all the results, news, and online shenanigans that make being online a good time. We'd like to say thank you to Fly Racing for their support of Seat Time. Please go check them out at flyracing.com.
Welcome to Seat Time, everybody. Brian Pierce here, your host for this fine evening, brought to you by the fine folks at Fly Racing, episode 180. Sounds amazing?
Sounds amazing.
Because it is amazing. Thank you, Jordon Bailey, for being here.
Absolutely.
Woohoo! I am your host, Brian Pierce. This is Jordon Bailey. We're on the couch at Seat Time in Texas, ready to talk off-road racing with you guys. Somebody on the other line, one of our co-hosts around the internet, is just tapping on his desk. What a son of a bitch. So, Seat Time, brought to you by the fine folks at Fly Racing. You can learn more about what they have to offer you as an off-road enthusiast at flyracing.com. I say some of their gear is the most badass out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that boa constrictor, that's what I'm going to call it, because it makes me look thin. I'm like, guys, did you see how tight I made it?
There's a reason you're not on there, like
micro adjust. Shut up! I'm going to be in the catalog one day. It's going to happen.
Everybody has to have dreams.
Absolutely. Why not? Dale hates me. Yeah. That's okay. Of course, Kenda Tire USA. You can check those guys out at kendatire.com for their sticky rubber goodness. I would like to show you my durometers and all that they can do for you, because that's what they use on their tires, not anything in their pants. That would be weird. StillwellPerformance.com for all your off-road suspension. So the guys over at Stillwell Performance, like Alan and all their little dudes, they do some wicked cool stuff with that kind of suspension, especially if you're into some of the more technical stuff. Like I did really well at the TKO. I was impressed by how well it worked for me on my 2015 350 XE. 4-stroke. It was awesome. So thank you to the support for those guys. Of course, we are Seat Time. You can find us at seattime.co. We're on Facebook. We're on all that kinds of stuff. You could find all the archive stuff on the site, but of course, iTunes and Stitcher is a good way if you're audio only. We do have a chat room, tlk.io/seattime, but of course, it should be on the site too. We can only hope. Maybe it's turned off. I forgot to turn it on. We'll see. So sellfy.com, SELLFY.com. We have our TKO long footage up there. The URL will be in the show notes. Check that out, please. $1.99. If you share that link before you purchase it and then go back, it's only $1.59.
Nice.
So social way to get yourself a little bit of a discount. And reviews. I have one review to read, but first I'm going to introduce our guests before I do so. And the reason I want to introduce them first is because I want to give them a chance to comment on the review that we have from iTunes. So we have Erek Kudla and Jason Hooper. Jason, we'll start with you because you're on the East Coast. How's your evening going?
Oh, it's going terrific, man. Can't complain. Glad to be here 2 weeks in a row. This is unreal.
You're like, magic has happened. Yeah, it hasn't. Erek Kudla, you're on the West Coast, my man. It's way too early to be having a good time over there. We're going to do it anyway. What's happening?
Oh, no.
He's like, drugs.
Is it working?
I mean,
now
not really. Fuck it. This was such a bad idea. Why does Google Hangouts work so much better for this? What's the problem here? Oh, well, Jason's got his beer and he's emptying it, so that's the way to do it. All right, Steven,
Well.
I'm going to leave it to you to figure this out.
Because it's called yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So, Jason, you've got a little bit more awesomeness with the signal, so we'll see how this goes. So this was our review. We got a 3-star review from Gerke123. The title of his review was Okay. And it goes, good guest, host is annoying, and I'm embarrassed for the guest at their times of awkward silence he creates. Glad someone is trying to promote off-road, however. I mean, that's a good 3-star rating,
I
right?
feel like the subject or whatever the title was is like spot on with the review.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then he definitely backs that up. Like it's okay.
Yeah, it's like, well, you know, I really don't want to like the guy. And
It's kind of like he's trying.
So, yeah, it's like, I'm glad that he tries, but gosh, I wish he'd stop. No. I mean...
Yeah, sounds about right, doesn't it?
What can you do? I'm just glad somebody gave us a review, to be honest. So, if Gerke123 still listens to the show for putting this review out there, definitely reach out to us. What I'm going to do is send you a couple koozies for putting a review up there, and I'm going to do the same thing for the next couple weeks. So, if you do listen to the podcast or audio version, definitely hit us up with a review, and we're going to keep checking before, and if they show up and we notice them, that's a big thing. They got to be there. We got to find them. We're going to definitely find the best one, read them during the show, and we're going to make it happen. So, ISDE just ended. Holy crap, what an interesting week. Jason Hooper and I, unfortunately, jinxed about half the field with our amazing conversation last week, which sucked. But hey, what could you do? Ryan Sipes wins overall the 90th, ISDE, first American to do so. I think we could all probably have a minimum 5 to 6 minute discussion, outright talk about that in itself. But before we do kind of get into that, I was going to kind of say, like, it sucks that Caleb Russell wound up kind of going out the way he did. Now, it sounds like the second day, which was that Tuesday, which when Hoop and I talked last week, is actually a day that he had hurt his knee. And we didn't know that. Hoop might have known that, but I didn't know that going in. And so kind of going into that third day when he, did kind of have to exit stage right, he hurt his knee again, had his bike flip on him and all kinds of other crazy stuff. That sucks in itself. Have we heard anything about how he's doing? Is he going to be at Unadilla? Like, is there any kind of talks there?
Yeah, I talked to Caleb yesterday. He's going to race Unadilla. So I know the whole prognosis, but I'm not 100% sure if I was supposed to share it or not. I won't. But he's racing, so I know that. So that's good. And his plan is, if everything goes well, to race National Enduros too.
Right on, yeah, because we've got Unadilla this weekend and then back to back to the Black Coal, right?
Yeah. So the thing is, with the GNCCs, he's pretty much got it locked up already. He's got a 104-point lead or something like that on Grant Baylor, and Thad's in second. Thad could win out, Caleb not race, and Caleb would still win the championship. So Grant would have to win like 3 rounds or something. I don't know. It's like, basically, if Caleb scores like 10, 12 points or something like that, it's in Unadilla, he'll wrap it up. So,
oh, wow.
So, yeah, he's got a huge lead.
That's wicked.
And then I think, then in the Enduros, he said that if Bobbitt wins out, he could go 8-8 and Caleb would still win the championship. So,
man, dude, that's what being a consistent winner does for you. When are we going to be that awesome?
Yeah.
I'm not waiting.
She has a better shot than any of us, probably, but neither of us.
I would completely agree. It's quite unfortunate. Not unfortunate for her. Unfortunate for myself and older gentlemen like us, Mr. Hooper. So it's kind of interesting too, because we saw some mishaps on different sides of all kinds of stuff happen after we talked. But before we talked last Tuesday before the show, it was like, man, it was really, really looking good. But then, of course, a lot of things happened from there. We saw Caleb Russell go out. Lane Michael did go out on that first day with his wrist. And then we saw Thad Duvall later on with the trophy team go out. And then, of course, Nick Davis had issues with his bike blowing up, I believe, on the fourth day. It really strangely was a mechanical nightmare for a lot of Team USA. I think we had more guys go out with bike failures this year than we did last year in Argentina, where we had all that. Was it the swish or the swag? What was the
fish?
The fish?
Fish.
Yeah, fish.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. So so Erek, to that point, what are your thoughts kind of on some of the mechanicals that we saw, and it wasn't all rookies to racing 6 days. You could say maybe, they're going too hot, they wrecked their bike too many times, all that kinds of stuff. But so what were your kind of takes on some of the mechanicals that we were seeing?
I don't really know. Is it working right now?
Oh yeah,
can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Sweet.
You sound
Perfect.
sexy. We don't know what you look like, but you sound awesome.
I just hooked my thing back up. But I think it was just luck kind of thing, because with the Fesh last year, a lot of people DNF, just not a ton of us, but a lot of it actually benefited us last year to have so many people DNF. But this year it was just not our year, and it was just enough people from each team to take all our steam away, and that was it. Kind of sucked.
Right. Yes. I would
Correct.
agree.
Yeah.
Well, Thad's bike was like a stator or something, wasn't it? So that's
just
like total. That's just completely random. That's not a. I think they said Nick Davis sucked dirt or something like that, which is still pretty random. But it's his first ever 6 days, so I know he probably freaked out during one of his work periods and rushed putting a filter on or something like that, which is kind of, I guess that's understandable, right? But yeah, the fads was just so freaky, like just random. Is that the same thing that happened to Osborne last year? Because Osborne went out the first day, remember?
Yeah, he did. I don't remember. I know he went out the first day, and it was like in the
feel
first
like it
or
was
second
something-
test too. It was like
Yeah, I
something,
think it was something random like that.
Yeah.
Like
Something similar
electric
to that, yeah.
kind of thing. Gremlin.
Yeah, and it happened to Thad twice. He fixed it, and then it happened again. So
That sucks.
it was not a good thing. And that actually used to happen to Nick Burson all the time. And to win it on his beta, or no, it might have been the Husky when he was on the Husky a long time ago, and he would just carry a stator with him and change it, and just the tools to change a stator. And that's actually how he won the USDR championship the last year. Was he on the last one? He just had to finish, so he carried a stator and the tools to change it, and he blew the stator and fixed it.
That's
so,
crazy.
Oh my god.
but who knows? Who knows if that's going to happen, especially in a 6-day event.
Yeah. Well, Thad's coming prepared next year.
Yeah.
6 stators. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's
Yes. Sorry, I was
Yeah.
trying to get in touch with Mr. Ryan Sipes at the same time. I was like, cool, Jordan's going to talk, I'm going to type, and then she stopped. I was like,
said like 6
I'm
words.
going to try to catch back up really quick. Yeah, what was crazy, too, about how being enthused about this International 6 Day Enduro for myself was how epic this battle was between Ryan Sipes and Daniel Milner, yet it wasn't a head-to-head fight. Like you like for myself, I guess I get it. Like I'm an enduro racer. That's what I grew up doing. Like it's the time-based fight.
Yeah.
More so than the rubbing elbows in the same corners kind of a fight. And so it's interesting that we were so enthralled to this battle, yet it really wasn't a battle. That was like a head-to-head. I think that's so interesting. Like the hoop. I mean, how do you think about that? Like that we could get so amped up where we're like not watching guys race each other physically. We're just watching them race the clock and then see how it pans out. And them being, hundredths of a second apart sometimes? Like ridiculous.
I love it about that format. I think that's what's so cool, and that's what I dig like with my sprint races and stuff. It's like I think it shows how fast these guys are going and how close they are to pushing like the absolute limits of what you can do on a motorcycle when they get that close. You know what I mean? Like it's just showing that you can only go so fast, and these guys are really, really close to that edge. So I think it's pretty cool because like you wouldn't be able to go that fast if you were racing head to head because you'd be trying to take lines that keep somebody from passing you or try and make passes, stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's pretty neat, man. I love it.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Now I noticed we're seeing a little dial tone with Erek. Is Erek, are you on audio? There we go. At least we got your audio.
No, I was gonna say about the time format, which was really interesting, is Katie Sutherland, I think that's Gary's mom, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
She was relaying to me a bunch about the race, and she's like, "Why is Gary doing so bad? He's in like 80th." Well, he was only 30 seconds off the lead or something. Where the day before he was 28 seconds off the lead and in 44th.
Yeah.
So she was, and that's the most interesting part about it, as I kept having to tell her, don't really worry about that number on the left. Worry about that little red number where he's behind. That's what you really want, because it's every day adds up. 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds adds up. But 88, they don't care about that number. Doesn't mean anything really. It just he's, there's so like Hoop was saying. I'm watching the full gas, which is super exciting. These guys are hundredths of a second apart. Or the top 80 are separated by 30 seconds, which is insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know for people that aren't super familiar with enduro, it is kind of weird to be like, well, they didn't even pass each other. What do you mean?
The competition itself is so strange sometimes. Just like Gary's mom was pointing out, like trying to figure out that clock and how you work that. So Jordan and I were discussing somebody like Rachel Gudish. She has been showing a lot of promise when it comes to this type of racing, and not just this type of racing. I think she has continuously gained when it comes to a lot of the technical riding that she does, and she's fast at what she does. But obviously, you take her out of kind of the super technical stuff where it's a lot more speed, and she's not competing with the top riders. So I'm thinking if she were to be able to get some real legit motocross practice, or be able to attend more of the sprint enduros, that she would be more competitive. I honestly think for a third, for a podium position overall in the women's classes. Now, we take that same idea of like what it would take to get there. Like, what would somebody like Gary Sutherland need to do? Like, you think about how fast he is and what he's done as a privateer, and now with kind of almost a semi-privateer. It's like the guy's a legitimate badass on a dirt bike. But I mean, like, he's like his mom was saying, why is he doing so bad? It's like, holy shit, when it comes down to those hundredths of a second and they add up day after day after day, like, you just can never make a mistake. I mean, is that the goal? Don't make a mistake?
Are we all talking about it?
Erek, you throw it down. What you got? You spoke up first, buddy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's hard to say, like, where are these guys making up these hundredths of a second, and they're so close, but it's always the same couple guys that are those hundredths of a second faster than everybody.
Yeah.
Which is, it's so weird because, like you said, Gary Sutherland is super fast. And then check out Ivan Ramirez, who battles with Gary Sutherland on a regular basis and was way further down.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's kind of strange to see. I think it's just a whole different thing. It's like a whole different type of racing. Like you were saying, when you're racing the clock and you're just, I just have to push. I'm not trying to pass anybody. I'm just trying to push as hard as I can. And, where in a hare and hound or something, you make a mistake in a turn, you look back, oh, they're not coming. Well, you make a mistake in a turn, you just lost 0.2 of a second, that you just went from 4th to 10th kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that might be, but I don't know how you just get better, I guess. I don't know.
I think it's just a strong mental game. I mean, like you said, you have to have a lot of practice in racing enduro type races where you're not racing your competition, directly.
Mm-hmm.
You're racing the clock all the time. So I guess more practice doing that and having to think that way constantly. Like, I'm trying to get from point A to point B as fast as I can the whole entire day, instead of, oh, well, no one's really around, I'll take it easy here. But you don't know what they've done in that section, so you have to push it as hard as you can.
Yeah, I got a chance to think a little bit more about something that Hooper said last week, and I kind of want to say this and let Hoop build upon it to where I think he could go with it. And he mentioned how, because they do, at the Sprint Enduros, they do all the tests one way, and then the second day they do those tests again backwards. And he was saying that Caleb Russell was actually looked forward to, or was good at reading the terrain on the second day, almost better than the first, because he could see when he's exiting a turn, he could see those braking bumps, so he knew where to start braking, or he could see the braking bumps and also where they were getting on the gas, so he could see where he knew he needed to be getting on the brakes, and then where he could start getting on the gas in that turn. So, like, kind of like with that thought of how there's guys that know how to ride the terrain, and they know how to read the terrain. So to that, Hoop, have you noticed anything that seems to be a trend on where guys really can start to make up time, or where they can wind up losing it horrendously? And I don't mean a wreck or anything like that, at your sprint enduros, like where it really seems to start to make a difference, where these guys can build and lose time.
The biggest, the biggest thing I notice is the first few tests before it really gets broken in. Mm-hmm. Near the end of the day, the guys' times start getting closer and closer, and they get faster and faster. But, I've seen Caleb put, 10, 12 seconds on Milner on a test, the very first test of the day, where there's no lines whatsoever. And that's so huge. It's like knowing exactly where you can brake, remembering the test, like, remembering that you can, that this is a left and a right or something, and setting yourself up 2 turns in advance, that kind of thing. I think that's the times seemed to get closer as the week went on, and then so for this, with this 6 days, the format was kind of different, with like running the test one direction for 2 days, where flipping them around, then having new tests on the 5th day or whatever. I think that's how it was, something like that. So, that's the thing that I noticed anyway. I don't know if that happened a lot through this one or not, but
right.
Eventually it gets so burnt in by the time they come back around again. But I think those guys did put some big padding on the other riders that early on this week, this 6 days.
Yep.
So I know, I think Caleb, I've actually had Caleb help me look at it like a cross test and be like, dude, where's the stuff going to get torn down? You know what I mean? Like, look at this cross test and be like, yeah, that turns, that you need to move it out 2 feet because you're going to get set up this turn to that turn. So those guys with the ability to do that makes a huge difference, to be able to just read it.
Yep. Man. Yeah, that's crazy.
Ride it.
it's going to be interesting to see, like, so with the way that this is developed with the USA, obviously continuously, we've showed so much promise in the ability to win the overall trophy, the overall World Cup trophy event of that at the ISDE, like, and you could tell too that the teams have put in a lot of effort, I think, in not just having more team camaraderie. They've put in training camps, and they've also put in a lot of effort, you can tell, to send people to events like the Sprint Enduros, which on the East Coast, which is super smart. So should guys that are going to wind up being on the trophy team, for 2016, should they be East Coast racers that are, not because East Coast racers are the faster racers, but just because they're going to have access to events like the Sprint Enduros more than guys that are going to be on the West Coast. I'd almost say Erek. What are your thoughts? And then we'll let Hoop, because Hoop, you own the series. We know what you're going to say.
I'm not gonna
Fuck yeah, come to my series. Come to my series.
Well, I was gonna say for sure go to Hoop Series, but then I wanted to remind you that Kirk Caselli's from here, so
no, that's a hell of a solid point.
Year.
Justin Jones is from here.
Killed it. Obviously, Taylor is from West Coast. I mean, personally, I think you need to pick riders suited to the terrain. But I mean, obviously, it has to be with some sort of like reason. Like last year, Caleb got 3rd overall in stuff that's nothing like where he's from. He should not have been the top American based off just like terrain and stuff like that. You would. Right, what I mean. Like obviously Taylor had some issues and stuff like that, but yeah. So I guess some of the guys like Ryan obviously is now going to be a trophy guy until he doesn't want to do it anymore. Caleb probably should be too. Taylor, and then maybe there's some after that maybe it should be a toss up. Next year in Spain it's going to be drier, more desert type terrain. I don't know. So like I think. Not just racing my series. This is just my opinion. I think all the guys need to ride a qualifier. That's my personal opinion. I think it would be better if there was one qualifier that was held in an area that's going to be similar to what they're going to race on at the 6 days early in the year, and everybody goes. You want to ride a trophy team, you want to ride a junior team, you want to ride a women's team, you got to ride it.
Yeah, and that's
my thought on it.
No, and that's been an interesting debate when it comes to kind of the 6 day in general. There's people that are like, well, like there's the Wellard Club team. People were on the Wellard Club team before it was kind of like Wellard was the full sponsor, like they have been the past couple of years. people were on that team that didn't go to any qualifiers. We've seen obviously trophy guys, and it's so tough because I don't think Australia has qualifiers. I don't think France has qualifiers. So I mean. Our main competition, that's not what they do. They pick. They have, Motorsports of Australia picks.
Yeah, but they're not split up as much as we are, Like we're just like two different worlds here between what we have on the East Coast and what we have on the West Coast. Pretty much all the Australian off-road guys ride the AORC, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
I can agree with that.
That's probably the difference, right? All the French dudes ride World Enduros, French Championship, Italian Championship. So yeah, we're definitely in a different situation here.
Because we're the size of Australia and France, right? I mean, like we have Australia on the West Coast and we have France on the East Coast. I mean, that's how diverse it could feel sometimes in the type of riding that we have in this country and how we would try to figure out how to pick the best riders.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that Hoop and I talked about last week too. Oh, and unfortunately, I did find out, and this is bad news for everybody that tuned in to listen to Ryan Sipes. He is, and I told him, I said, dude, if you when I asked, I said, if you don't think you can make it, I understand. You got a lot of family stuff going on. You just got back in town. He did say that family stuff just got too crazy. He can't come on tonight. We're still gonna have Brian Garrahan on. He's being on here in a couple minutes. But I wanted to talk a little bit about. Yeah, I know. Hoop's
just
like,
me down,
buddy, man. It's like Hoop's like, I'm putting my pants back on. This is bullshit. But one of the things that Hoop and I actually got all goosed up on and stuff, and we were texting each other about it back and forth, is, holy crap, is this not just like something you still want to do? And we're like, yes. Like, how do we qualify? Like, how does, like, it's one of those deals where, like, back in the day, Hoop was a really good motocross racer when he was younger, going to Loretta Lynn's, qualifying for Loretta Lynn's and racing at Loretta Lynn's. Like, I've done, like, when I was heads in it and didn't give a shit, and I could still twist the throttle without any thought of, consequences. I got myself into the AA class, all that kinds of stuff. You've been a professional GNCC racer. Erek Kudla, you've won A-class races before, and I'd imagine on the West Coast that's still going to compete you well with a lot of the AA stuff.
This year, didn't you,
I tried to qualify. It didn't work out.
So it's like, what do we do? We're talking about what do these guys get better at to go win the World Trophy? But at the same time, there's guys like us and ladies like us everywhere that would like to try to qualify. So in that regard, let's talk about that. Like, Erek, perfect. Let's start with you because you tried to qualify. You were able to make it to the qualifiers. It was like, did you, tell us about it. What did you do? Anything special that we could kind of, take to learn from?
Well,
or maybe not do since you didn't qualify.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The problem is I didn't do anything special. I was on a bike I've never been on before, and then I went out to a place that I've never ridden before and tried to qualify, and I just wasn't prepared for 100 miles of sitting on my ass all day. And that was really the hardest part. I mean, I raced desert. You sit down in the corners and that's kind of it. It was just single track, and I was on minute 3. So there was 7 guys in front of me, so there weren't any lines anywhere. So it was definitely tough. I mean, the terrain was amazing. But for the most part, you really have to be in shape. You need to be able to go as fast on the second day and at the end as you were on the first day on the first test, because that's where everybody else drops off. That's where I dropped off at the second day at the end. You're just over it.
Yeah.
And so that's what you really need. And you just need to be fast, I guess. Because those guys are super fast. And you need to be smart, because what happened, Dustin Welcher, which is from Colorado, he won every single test as a C1 or E1 rider, and on the last transfer, he wrote down the wrong number and went through it 10 minutes early. And that's why he didn't qualify. He would have gone. He was all set up to go, but he just wrote down the wrong number. So there's so many things, and then there's luck, because if the other guy's all DNF, then you win. Yay! So it's
I think that might be our best option.
Yeah, that's why Jubal Brown was able to go, or maybe Dylan Shepard was the other guy in my minute. He was able to go because Dustin Welcher burned it, so he was able to go. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to go. But he finished third, so it secured that spot just in case. Yeah. So even if you're doing bad, you still have to keep trying. Because Nick Hamill, I think, finished 7th one year, but none of the guys wanted to go, so he got to go.
Yeah, they just go through the list, don't they? Call you.
Yeah, that's what I understand.
You want to go?
Pretty much.
The money to go? No,
a lot of people
next
turn
one.
in an LOI too, I think, and they're like, "Oh, I can get the money together," and then when they make it,
they're like, "Oh crap!"
And then they're like, "Wait, no, it's really $20,000," or Argentina
yeah.
where it was $30,000.
Yeah.
Then it's like, "Oh, my sperm will only get me so far."
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I could sell a baby, and my babies are semi-intelligent. Me, not so much. My baby, and I don't think that would work. I don't think.
Well, and the crazy part this year too was they announced who qualified, and you needed to be paid in 3 weeks or something for all your entry. Or it might have been even closer than that. It was all your entry fee, all your hotel stuff, all your registration stuff had to be paid within a very, very short period of time. So it was this year. Actually, another rider that didn't. Like I said, if you do you're doing it.
I don't know. I just like listening to it at this point. It's kind of almost like a dance song. It's like EDM.
I got that it had
It's a remix.
So your brother, actually, not Erek Kudla, Brian Kudla, the other Kudla, in the chat room, he was like, he was talking about how the transfer sections were extremely gnarly. That's something that we don't hear all the time. Now, granted, ISDE is typically where you're going to get that, or at the Ridge Riders dealio, because holy shit, that is serious. That is trail. That is 90% trail pace all day, unless you're in a test, and then it's 110% trail pace.
Ironically, that's what happened this year. Is the 2 transfers or the second day ended in all transfer. It was like 30 miles of transfer that a lot of people didn't make. So it kind of got people ready for that, it seemed like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was talking about how much Brian loved it. And I would imagine he means Brian Story because he's sadistic like me, though older than me.
Garrahan.
Oh, well, Brian Story probably loved it too. I'm going to go with that. Shoot. All right, well, Hoop. Just because I know it's kind of sucking like this, I don't want to bring Garrahan into the quadruplet seat time-a-thon that we're having here. I wanted to see if there were any other thoughts from you before we drop you off so we can bring Garrahan on and talk to him about his ISDE experience.
No, I don't think so. We've talked about everything. I don't know.
I'm good.
I just come on because you asked me. I didn't really plan ahead, man.
Yeah, I don't have anything to talk about.
Be enthusiastic, Hoop. Oh, my God. He's like, I got a beer and a computer and headphones on seat time. Woohoo! That's it. It's just dead air.
Oh, that was it.
There's the awkward
And the
silence.
show is over. All right. Well, here's the deal. Everybody, go sign up and race the Sprint Enduros if you want to try to qualify
Wait,
for
why?
ISDE.
Okay, yeah. But why we have Foop on? Can you please bring one to Texas?
Texas? Yeah, Story's been trying to get me to come do one down there. I'd love to, man. I just gotta. I'm spending a whole lot of money right now. I
Look,
don't have a whole lot.
here's
So
even
it's
what
like-
I know exactly how you feel.
before Story
so it's a
even
tricky
said
situation,
that.
you
I
know?
told
so
Hoop,
yeah,
I
like,
said,
I'd like. I don't know. I don't know if I'll make one part of the series next year, but we might be able to just come down and do like a one-off or something like that. Because our core group is here in the Southeast, and I would probably really make some people upset if they like had to go to Texas. So yeah, we'll talk about it for sure.
Cool.
I'd like to do it.
That would be awesome.
what before him and Story got into it about talking about that kind of stuff, I even told him, I said, hey, listen, Mark and I can be the promoters, like the here people.
Yeah.
We can put everything together here.
Yeah.
We can build the tracks, all that kinds of stuff, and he can show up with the his trailer, his transponders, the kind of the meat and
the
potatoes
logistics.
of what is good for the riders, and then bam, we have a full gas sprint enduro. But it doesn't have to be, like you said, it doesn't have to be part of the series. It's just kind of like
I mean,
at
I don't
a
care.
time.
I just
Like-
want to do one.
So.
But I do have to request it not be at Brian's place.
Oh God!
I'm just throwing that out
Do you
there.
think that I want to race the sprint enduro there?
I'm just making sure. Like,
I want to
just
do it.
gonna put it on the table.
I honestly think we could do a really good job at the OHV park or
Yes,
in Bridgeport.
that would be awesome.
Because it's like we could have a full-on legit grass track. We could go make some gnarly
Some
shit
technical
too.
stuff.
Like,
Yeah, that
it's
would be
like,
exactly what I was thinking. Okay, make sure we're on the same
Yeah.
page.
No,
All right,
Cool.
let's do it.
That would be
I'd
awesome.
though I'd love for it to be 20 minutes from my house.
That would
I
be
don't
cool,
think
but
it's
not worth it.
I don't think it's going to happen. Nobody would show up. They'd be like, I'm not freaking racing on Brian Story's property for the 8th time this year.
Yeah, no. Pass.
All right, well, Hoop, we'll make it happen. Thank you very much for being on the show. I didn't want to kick you
thanks
off,
for
but
having me on.
obviously we're having issues, and you're just the first person to go because, it's the East Coast. I'm going to give it that. It's later where
And
you're at.
I was here last week,
Yeah,
and it's fine.
you're sexier. That's it.
You're not gonna hurt my feelings.
You need beauty sleep.
Yeah, I'm the more boring guest. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's fine.
We're going to have more of Erek Kudla's chops.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, you need more room for those things. It's cool. All right,
They are their own guests.
thanks, guys. It was good talking to you.
All right.
See you, Uber.
See ya.
All right, so let's see. Okay, we've got him off. Now, Eric.
We got him off. Woo!
No, yeah. Well, not that Hoop's gone. Let's go ahead and really dive in. No, I just what I was gonna say is before we get Brian Garrahan on here, I wanted to say thank you for doing such a great job with kind of the upkeeps on a lot of the information from the ISDE. What I thought you did really well was be very subjective. You did a great job making sure the trophy team was talked about, the junior trophy team, the women's team, and of course the club riders. It's so hard to pay attention to everybody. And that's not. Yeah. I'm not trying to say that to be a jerk. That's just there's so many riders. There's so much racing going on, and there's so many different things for different people to be worried about. But I thought you did a really good job of being extremely subjective and getting that information out there. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted you to kind of be on, is to kind of, you had a lot of that club team knowledge. And so with Brian Garrahan coming on, you hooking us up with Brian, I thought it'd be really cool to be able to, to kind of talk club
Talk
team
about it.
and how much it sucked that you weren't there as a racer, because I'm pretty sure it would have been better for everybody.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know about that. But it was, you know what actually happened is I threw myself under the bus on it. I posted a picture on Sunday before it from the NHHA site, and I was like, oh, make sure to follow GXE. I'll be posting. And right after I did that, I was like, crap. There goes my whole week. And it started at, 1 a.m. every day for us here. And we would get our first scores at 2 or 3. So it was pretty much just staying up. Like I would go to a concert and I'd get out and then it'd be like, okay, time for ISDE stuff.
Holy crap.
Caffeine! Oh,
Did you ever sleep then?
Between 6 and 11 or something.
Golly.
But, well,
and then he'd get tacos for lunch and then start his day.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And so the day that the DQ stuff happened, that was like,
oh yeah,
I don't think we slept for like 28 hours or something. I mean, it was, and I was like, I don't know why I cared. I mean, whatever, it's gonna get taken care of. But it was stressful because people were spreading this, people were spreading that. I had texts from our guys on the ground, and then Dirt Rider posts that no one's DQ'd. And I was like, wait a second, they just got DQ'd. And then it was just kind of like, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know why I cared. It was just cool to watch, and it was awesome, and it was cool to spread, like you were saying, the club stuff, and everybody always has some questions, and most of the time, like FIM or somebody that's posting it doesn't have time to answer questions, but apparently I have nothing else to do. So, that's why there's no Hare and Hounds for a couple weeks.
Yeah,
that's why.
Yep.
That's what the whole thing was. Our club teams did really well this year. I mean, I think last year did we win? I think we won the overall clubs. We had Sipes, one of those guys in our clubs.
And Gary Sutherland, Sipes, and oh crap, yes, yeah, that was like the Wellard club team.
Or Farringer,
yes,
and another guy. I think Osborne was on the junior team, maybe.
No, Osborne was on the trophy team, and his bike shit the bed in that first or second test.
Yeah. So, so we just didn't have like the big names, so people weren't mentioning this and that and the other. And our first day was not the greatest, but the fact was that we just kept moving up. Mm-hmm. And, and I think that one of the things it seemed like was we had a lot of West Coast racers from ISDE or the qualifier in Idaho. A lot of those guys weren't really familiar with riding in the mud, but then people like Garrahan and like, those guys love it. So that's why you see Garrahan, Toth, the Kelly brothers, like in the top of the American scores every single day, is because for those guys, the worse it gets, the better it is. So that's why, like in Argentina, I think we did so well because we always have a lot of West Coast guys that go because of the ISDE qualifier, right, or the Idaho City qualifier. Yeah.
Yeah, which is epic. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get Mr. Brian Garrahan on, and then, of course, you've got your Fly shirt on. I've got my Fleur shirt on. So as we kind of transfer a little bit of our guests, definitely want to talk about some of the Fly stuff out there. So flyracing.com, obviously, where you can learn more about that. What's even really cool is when you go to flyracing.com and you order online from their website, it's actually shipped, and sometimes you can even go pick it up from your closest local dealer. And I think that's pretty neat. So it's cool. A good way to be able to order online from their website, but not, axe out the middleman, which is the local dealer, which obviously does, it's good to keep them in business.
Yeah,
for you to be able to get parts and that kind of stuff. So sometimes there can be some issues with it. I know that they have had issues with that kind of stuff, but, when you got to make it happen, you got to make it happen. So, all right. So, Erek, I'm not going to lie. We're going to kick your video off and keep you audio so we can get Brian's. We could try to keep Brian's video because, he's just sexier than you are.
He's way sexier. I can guarantee that.
See how that works. And it's one of those deals where we know Google Hangout works better, but the problem is like trying to like teach everybody how to do Google Hangouts is kind of like can get a little finicky. So... we
just like to wing it.
Yeah, shoot from the hip, really.
That's way more fun, yeah.
To be honest, yeah, absolutely. Hey, Brian, can you hear us? Nope. All right, Erek, keep talking. No,
As I go, yeah, he's
Yeah.
back and forth.
I'm
So
trying
yeah,
to think
Brian
about this.
Garrahan, a little introduction, I guess. I just met him this year, being the director of the Western Hare Scramble Championship. I mean, I know who he is. I've heard the name Garrahan Off Road Training, but he kind of came out, and one of the older guys. He was 39, hadn't turned 40 yet, and but he lined up on the pro row. So we're like, all right, whatever, and. I don't know who these guys are. They're just local guys. I don't know. So, but he went out and tore it up pretty well. I think he ran into a tree that time though. But he he didn't surprise the local guys, but I mean he kind of surprised us. And then all year he's been racing hard. And at the ISDE qualifier, he actually did really, really, really well. I think he got like 4th overall or something, 5th overall or something like that. And then did even better out here for us in Slovakia. I mean, finishing one of the top riders every single day, along with Fred Hoes, who is I think in his 50s.
Yeah.
So and then Toth, I can't remember his first name, Jason or Jet, but Toth is our youngest rider. So we had our oldest guys and our youngest guys in the top of our USA teams, which was really cool.
That blows my mind, dude. That I can only hope that I get to my 40s and my 50s and can still, kind of be an A rider. Now, granted, you have to just keep riding at that point.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is these guys have always just kind of rode or raced at some capacity. I mean, we look at Brian's story every other weekend and
Racing.
multiple times during the week, he's on his dirt bike.
Yeah.
Just riding it.
Yeah.
Going fast.
Exactly. And I think I'm faster now probably than I've ever been, and I barely race. I'm always on my bike, laying out course or riding through some rock section with stakes on my back or some shit.
Right.
So, or doing sweep at King of the Hammers or something like the King of the Motos or something like that. And so when I went out to race at the qualifier, I did better than I rode better than I've ever raced, and I still did bad. But I mean, just being on your bike, I think, and I feel like even in our desert racing, the older guys are some of our faster guys. Paul Kraus is still super fast. Larry Rosler, he's 57. He's still super fast. You know what I mean? So a lot of our top guys in the desert are in their 30s and 40s. So it's just, I feel like that's just kind of how it goes, especially in off-road, because it is physical, but it's almost more like wisdom.
Yeah.
Of how to reading the terrain and knowing when you should go slow. Because that was one thing I was going to mention about the cornering, or about the speeds in ISDE. Is one thing I've learned I've been told is the cornering is where it's all at.
Yeah.
And and to a certain extent, when you're learning to ride, you want to brake as late as possible and gas it as early as possible. But then, I personally just got to the point to where I have to brake earlier now because I'm braking too late and blowing through the corners. So now I have to relearn how to do that. And I think those kind of things come with age, is where you know when to let off. And if you watch the French guys, it looks like they're just putt-putting around the course. But it's because they never let off. They come into a corner, go do and never stop.
Huh.
You know what I mean? They don't dig a hole. They don't anything. But all those top guys just kind of go raw around each corner. Raw. They're not making big berms unless there's a cameraman, of course.
And then they make it look awesome.
Oh yeah, and then yeah.
So one of the things too, I loved doing the Idaho qualifier, but here's a question for you. We look at the ISDE and kind of what they're qualifying for. It doesn't seem like it fits. It seems like it's a good, long, manly race for sure. The 200 plus miles that you're doing. But say what we're talking about with the big grass tracks and the keeping, carrying speed through the turns and stuff like that. It just doesn't seem like, maybe the better, does it seem like it sets you up to be a good, ISDE competitor?
From everybody that I've talked to, it's nothing like ISDE, but it's just a hard race that's long kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because basically what my brother does, leading up to it, is he just does motos. He goes to the motocross track and just does 30-minute motos, changes a set of tires, 30-minute moto, changes a set of tires, 30-minute moto, because I guess he said that's kind of more what it's like for him.
Yeah.
Is
I've heard quite a few guys actually.
It's
That's
just
what they do.
Because you're just railing ruts and like jumping things that you didn't
We all
really
wanted
look
to
at.
know that.
Yeah, railing ruts just and jumping jumps that you kind of are kind of blind but you just kind of have to do it, or you have to kind of just know that I can jump this going this speed, and then you have to. I mean, it's like a moto, very similar to a moto where the gate drops and you go 110% till it stops. It's not like ISDE qualifier where you're like, man, I got 200 miles to go.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna try to ride comfortably, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's every 10th of a second. You know. So like I said, my brother just does motos and just changes tires and then does motos.
Hey, Erek, this is Brian Garrahan.
Hey, what's
Yay!
up, man? Woohoo!
Hey, what's up, guys? So your brother's that badass where he actually does tire changes in between motos?
Hell yeah.
I usually drink Kool-Aid in between my motos.
Yeah, Kool-Aid and
Vodka.
a hot dog or something.
Vodka.
Yeah. I like to see. I mean, I was out there doing punching out push-ups all week long, and I didn't see no tire. You know, I wasn't seeing tire changes, between motos during the week for him, man.
That's what Ryan tells Erek that he does. That's
Yeah, there we go.
what
That's
he
more like
actually
it.
does. Yeah, that's definitely it's a two-way street, of lying and telling the truth. And we just need to make sure we're on the same shoe. So Brian, thank you very much for joining us. Sorry that it took us so long to get you on here, but I'm glad it happened. So you're a badass. I mean, that's kind of like what has been the state point. Erek actually didn't put pants on this evening. He didn't know if he could contain what is going on, the way he likes to talk about you. So you have been to the ISD a hell of a bunch of times. You're over 40 racer now, out there having a good time doing it. So I take it you enjoy racing at the ISDE.
It's a great event. I started doing it when I was like 18 years old, and I did it for 8-9 years in a row, and just kind of faded out doing other stuff. And I've been going to do some off-road schools now, and I went the last few years just kind of helping some of the kids I trained doing the event, and just kind of got that bug again. And me turning 40 and stuff like that, I thought that'd be the appropriate time and place to do it. And so that's how it worked out.
Oh, dude. So when was the last time, in this case, that you've done the ISDE, obviously besides Slovakia?
2003 in Brazil was the last time, but unfortunately at that event, my stator and my motorcycle went out like 30 miles into it, so I really didn't enjoy much of the scenery riding motorcycles and stuff like that. So basically 2001 in France would have been the last one that I really, really competed in.
Dang.
Holy cow.
So you spend that much, and in that time, like 2001, 2003, whatever, how much time have you spent off the bike? I mean, you said you were doing other things. Obviously, that could be family, that could be all kinds of stuff. But I mean, were you keeping up, like riding and racing?
I was still racing. I was still racing that time. I was racing GNCCs and works, and you know what I mean. Just my focus kind of changed off of the ISDs. You know what I mean. It costs a lot of money, and
yeah.
And the first few years when I was doing it, the AMA was paying some money to get involved, and then they kind of stepped out of that and stuff, and it kind of got slow for a few years. It wasn't as big as it was, and now you go there now, the operation is unbelievable. The effort that the AMA puts in, the effort that Anti puts in, the effort that KTM puts in. I mean, I was talking to my brother today, and I was just like, man, it's just amazing how it is now, how much easier it is, and how the quality of you get at every check. You go there, even though you're not factory KTM rider, they're out there to help you. If you're riding a Yamaha, Suzuki, everyone's just there supporting you. Big club meetings, and it's just amazing how well of an effort it puts in, and it's showing in our results now. We got our top riders going. We're not we're the talk of the pits. We won this year. Big props out to Ryan Sipes for winning it overall, and I was super excited to be there. I've been there 13 times. Raced at 9, and to be able to see history go down and see an American rider win that event was really amazing. Really amazing.
Yeah. So you mentioned doing a lot of the OMAs, GNCCs, and stuff like that in the past. But you're in California now. So did you grow up on the East Coast? Is that where you were racing most of the time when you were in younger years?
I just raced local stuff, and actually we were just kind of hillbillies that raced in the woods, and in 93, my brother went to go do some ISDE qualifiers, and we didn't know nothing. There's no internet, no TV, no nothing back then, and my brother ended up qualifying on the world junior team, and we're like, fuck, excuse my language, we're like, damn, we're that good, I guess we're gonna go race some motorcycles. And so we kind of got into it, and out west, and it was all desert racing and stuff, and not much off road. Just like the first, they used to be like the first national enduro, the first hare scramble. But I did some desert races, and when I was like 18, 19 years old, and did good at a couple of them. And then I thought I was going to win a race, and I crashed doing like 85, 90 miles an hour, and I said, I'm done with this. And the next weekend, I found myself in Ohio racing back east, and just kind of fell in love with it. And then kind of from there on out, I kind of turned out, I'd say like I was like a surfer chasing the seasons. I'd live in California between November and March, and then the GNCC season would start in March, and I'd load up my van, and I'd move back east, and I'd live back east from March to November, and it'd start getting cold, and I'd be like, I'm going to go back to California and go ride again, guys. Have fun hunting, so. So
yeah,
that's what they all do back east.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because that's all we see. Like Thad is like pictures of like shooting stuff with his bow or whatever.
Yeah.
We got the Baylor brothers; they're all out there like bow hunting and everything and shooting stuff and keeping warm by the fire. I know their dad drinks beer, which I'm a big proponent of, but that's okay with me. So, were you on the senior club team or were you on one of the other club teams this year?
No, I just qualified for a regular club team. It was hard for me to commit to doing the senior team. I thought about it, but I wanted to see if I could just qualify, regular and just be on the club team. And I really wanted to try and be top American, which I did, and I wanted to just get the top 10, which I did in my class. So I was happy with my results, and just my attitude kind of showed that the whole time. And just it was a really good time to go back to that event and put that effort in. I did a lot with my off-road schools. In the summertime, I do a really unique program where I do a summer camp. Basically, I call it dirt bike daycare, and kids stay at my house from Tuesday to Thursday, and every day we get up and we train in the morning, and then we go to the motocross track in the afternoon. Just like Erek was saying, is all I do is ride is motocross. I don't even ride off road in the summertime because it's so dry in California. I just ride motocross, 3-4 times a week.
Right.
And AJ Lear, one of my trainees, that went there and got a gold medal. We'd line up and we just do 3-lap sprints. We don't do the whole 20-minute moto session. We just do 3-lap sprints, pull off the track. We'll talk about our lines, talk about where he passed me, where I passed him, bench talk, and then we'll do 3 more laps, and 3 more laps, and just really push that edge. And that's kind of really where the speed comes from, is pushing in the corners and carrying the extra momentum in the corners, and hopefully you can carry that momentum all the way through.
Hell yeah. Well, actually, you kind of mentioned some of the stuff you're talking about might help out with some of the discussions that we were having a little bit earlier. So a couple things. Do you think that the qualifiers are a good way to qualify to race at 6 days? Is one of those. And two, if there are any changes that you would think that would work, what might they be?
I think it is a good system to do the qualifying. I think if they wanted to do the qualifying, I think it would have to be a stronger series like it used to be back in the day where there's just more than 2 qualifiers. You can't really judge much off of that. But, I think what they need to pre-select the team for the trophy guys, because I think it is a good way to do it. But they need to kind of look into how they select the teams, where the event is. If it's like Argentina was a West Coast style event, and this year was an East Coast style event, they should select it like that. But I think they should definitely leave the option open for the junior team, because it's a good way for a nobody that's not known on the radar to go out and get out there and put an effort in and get recognized, and if they pre-select such young kids, it's hard to get recognized and stuff like that. So I think they should leave it open for the younger kids, but I definitely agree on the pre-selection and the effort they put in, because I know they do a training camp and it costs a lot of money, so they got to raise the fees and stuff like that. So that's kind of my opinion on it.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with that. Like it's tough, and I like your idea too about the junior trophy team. I like the fact that to kind of say that should definitely not be pre-selected. That should give guys that chance to qualify for that. But in the same time, like what I guess then would we say that they're like in the LOI class? Would that be like, okay, if your age bracket is such, obviously then for the junior class, that if you were good enough, you could then qualify for the world trophy, the junior trophy team. But then if not, then you could just be one of the club riders?
Yeah, something like that. Or the year I did it, like first year I did it was the years in USA. And, they took 6 or 7 of us and we went to a training camp, you know what I mean? And we went to the training camp and all the team managers were there and coaches and the teams were there. And we rode special tests, and they picked it from there. I wasn't probably even the top guy back then, but they saw something in me at the training camp, and I was chosen from there. There was a couple of kids that were on the team the year before, the junior team, and I thought they would have a better chance since they had already been there and stuff like that. But again, with that training camp, they saw something maybe special in me and saw some different determination than they saw some of the other kids, and I was selected. So I think something like that, have take 4 on the team, take 8 kids to it, and the top 8 from the junior team, and then have a training camp and see where it goes from there, and have the team select it. The KTM guys are there, the Husky guys are there, Yamaha guys are there, and they sit down and discuss the best team for the America.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea for
Scouting.
sure. What's that?
Scouting, like we were talking about earlier.
You're absolutely right. We were having a complete discussion about how ladies like Jordon Bailey and Hannah Otto, extremely fast girls here in Texas. Cooper Bailey, extremely fast dude here in Texas back in the day. He works now for a living. But in Texas, they have to travel to the East Coast, and it costs a lot of money to be able to do that, and they don't have a chance to really be able to live within their families while they're living on the East Coast. And it'd be so much more interesting if if scouting happened for situations like that, for people to be able to come out and do that. So, but that's kind of the same idea of what you're talking about, is a way to kind of scout, to get maybe 8 to 10 of these super fast young dudes, and then bring them all in one place, and then scout the right ones for the right job. So I think, and I think that they almost kind of do that now that they've started bringing the training camps back. But maybe invite more of the younger dudes, or even more of some of the faster club riders.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, there's some of the guys that nothing to mock on the guys, but some of the guys race a lot. The Baylors, they're wrong. They're awesome fast. You know what I mean? And they should be on the team. But they're racing. They're in the scene the whole time, so their name's out there. But maybe there's a kid out there, like Josh Knight. He won the Idaho qualifier. He doesn't have as much money. He lives in freaking middle of nowhere in Idaho. There's no real race series where he lives, so he's not racing that much. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So he doesn't really get recognized, but he's blazing fast. You know what I mean? He never and the Baylors and Lane and all those, they weren't at the qualifiers, so they're already pre-selected. So he didn't have a chance to ride against those guys to show his speed. You only got to ride against me and Alex Dorsey and just kind of the local West Coast guys. You know what I mean? So
he never
really has a chance to show his speed.
Yeah, we had him on after he overalled that event, because it's insane. The dude's so young. He's been to the ISDE so many times on the club team, and it's just going to be cool to see. And it's one of those things too. He could just be having a great time riding his dirt bike. He may not have any plans to really try to pursue this as a career, and that's fine. But obviously, right now, he's fast as shit on a motorcycle, and it would be cool to see him be able to have that opportunity to go out there and represent the United States at a whole nother level than what he's done so well before.
And what's cool about the ISD is that's not what it's not about. It's not about making money either. Because everyone, even Stu Baylor and Grant Baylor, they're paying to go there. You know what I mean? This is more of a pride race. You know what I mean? It's all about pride. They get paid to race GNCCs. They hate them, but they get paid. But they want to.
Well, I was going to say, that's like Ross Neely. Ross Neely overalled it 2 years ago, the ISDE qualifier, by a lot. Yeah. And wanted to go on the junior team, and they're like, no, they're already selected. Yeah. And so he was just over it. From what I heard, he was like, oh, well, whatever, never mind. And he beat everybody by a couple minutes. And I think it was 22 or 23. And they were just like, nope, they're already selected. Yeah, and that was it.
It's kind of disheartening for the guys that are fast and could be on that team, but their names just aren't known, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to have a junior team.
Junior.
We'll have this. Yeah, I would say we'd have
junior Pro 2 team.
Yeah, the junior Pro 2. Yeah, how many Pro 2 X classes can we add to the thing? I guess that's kind of almost what the Woolard club team was those 2 years.
Kinda,
that. It's it's kind of, and that's where Sipes kind of made a name that he could kick ass at the ISDE, and then obviously he did so. So Brian. Yeah. With all the racing that you've done in your life, doing so well, like you said, you've been a shit ton of times to the ISDE as a racer, and then obviously helped out a bunch more times. Do you see yourself wanting to continue doing this now that you've kind of, essentially gotten back into it? Or was this just going out to do it, and you had fun, and now, another check off the bucket list?
Yeah, it was definitely just kind of a do it kind of thing. It definitely got me sparked with. I wanted to, kind of see if I was still competitive, really. You know what I mean? If I still had it in me a little bit, and definitely came in to get a little spark, and it makes me feel that. it was definitely a bucket list thing. I definitely see myself going back again, not necessarily maybe next year, but definitely again. I want to do Loretta Lynn qualifier. I want to do the Lorettas next year, and that's something I've always wanted to do. You know, it's childhood dreams to race Lorettas, and you know, at 40 years old, I still feel like I'm a child, so I'm kind of ready to live that childhood dream, I think.
What class would that be at Loretta's? Is there and I'm not trying to knock at your age or anything like that, but is there like do they have it to where it's broken down to like, you know, there's like 30, mid 30 and then 40 and then mid 40?
Yeah, they got a 40 plus class, and I know the last couple of years, Rodney Smith and Terry Bostard are local guys that live near us, and I can run kind of their speed. I can run their speed. And Bostard won a moto this year, and I know Rodney Smith has got second overall the last couple of years. So I think I could be, you know, not necessarily win it, you know, but I could definitely be competitive in the 40-plus class if I could get there.
That'd be wicked cool to see you do that, because, like, you know, I by no means can ride a motocross track. It's pathetic. But for guys like yourself that are epic at that kind of stuff, and obviously we can tell going to the ISDE, doing so well there, but then with the possibility of qualifying for Loretta's, like, that spans a lot.
It's a big spectrum.
Yeah. So that'd be fun. You know what I mean? I always hear about how fun it's going to be. So I don't think I can afford doing both because they're about a month apart. So that'd be pretty expensive.
Yeah, I don't know how I don't know how guys do the ISDE like multiple times in a row. Like,
or like in a lifetime.
Like how many credit cards can you really open? Like,
I was talking to Fred Host, and he's done it like 25 times. I'm looking at him like, dude, you know that's like $500,000 that you've spent going to this 6 days.
Gosh.
And what did he say?
He's like, oh, you know, they used to help a lot more when I was younger. I'm like, yeah, dude, but it's been a long time, man.
Not that much. I mean, like, even if like they split it halfway, you know, like still, like, holy shit. I mean, it's
still a lot of money.
It's like having a kid every time you go. Like, it's probably more than having a kid, you know. And you don't get you probably still get some drama with it, but
yeah.
So Erek, if you were to say a couple awesome things, and I say a couple because I'm sure you got more than one or two, but like about Mr. Brian Garrahan, what would you make sure that us Texas and then of course the more nationally seat time listeners should know about Mr. Brian Garrahan?
Well, I just kept wanting to mention how he in line at ISDE qualifier, he was like, "Hey, if I don't qualify, can you put me up for the 40 plus team?" But then he was standing right behind me in line, but then he qualified all badass and ended up going anyway. And I honestly didn't think he was going to go because he made it sound like he didn't want to. But then he was there, tore it up, like he was saying, doing push-ups in between motos and stuff. And the reason I wanted you to have him on here, one, is because he's super sexy, but you don't have his picture up. But
he's not showing his video. He didn't wear pants.
Yeah, exactly. Two is he's a good speaker, and he has a lot of great things to say about, you know, he notices all the improvements at ISDE, so he's able to tell us that kind of stuff. And he notices things that suck, and he'll totally say that. And so that's, you know, Brian's an awesome dude. He always comes out, always high fives, always has a blast at the races, even when he does terrible. And so, I mean, he's not as excited, but he still has a blast. So, you know, so other than that, like, I don't really know the guy that well except for at the races. So just this year, even.
Just handies in the back of the race van.
He's made a great impression. So I can tell you that much.
I like it.
And that's one thing that what it is me out there. I'm not faster than any of those kids. Like I said, I'm 40 years old. I just know how to ride a motorcycle. And what I felt what I did better was I was just mentally stronger. I had a smile on my face every day. You know, I didn't want to do push-ups, but I wanted to do the push-ups to show people how strong I was and how competitive I was, and just mentally, crush them.
Psych everyone out.
Psych them all out. I was taught from the best. You know, I lived 5 years in a box fan with Shane Watts, and everyone knows how Shane Watts was. He'd do burnouts on his tire before a race, and we used to be in pit lane parked, and we'd literally start our box fan up at midnight and go drive to a parking lot in the grocery store and race Ereks, then come back at 2 a.m. and then tell everyone the next day we're at the bars drinking all night long just to have that psych edge on everyone. Like, oh my God, you guys are out drinking? Yeah, we're out on the piss all night long. Woo! You know what I mean? We're really good work, but we just mentally screwed with everyone. You know what I mean? So, you know.
I love it. I gotta start doing that. I'm too much of a nice guy. I think I let everybody know that I'm kind of an idiot. Or maybe I need to start being a little bit more mentally strong.
You might freak people out if you like just completely change your person.
I would go to the bar. That's true. It's very true. I definitely would go to the bar. Man, I can't do that shit anymore. There ain't no way in hell.
No control.
Well, speaking of Shane Watts in the box van, did you ever partake in any of the quality control issues that they had going on in there?
Those are stories that should not be told onto this radio show. But we had, I would say that me and Shane had a very good time, and there's nothing better than those times in my life living on the road in a box van like a gypsy, just traveling the country, pulling up in towns and people bringing in their arms and showing us their private tracks and having them ready for us. And it was an amazing time in my life to travel the road and travel the country in a box van racing with a legend like Shane Watts,
Epic. So guys, girls, riders, dads, moms, kids that want to know a little bit more about your off-road training programs that you've got going on, is there a spot that they can go do that?
Yeah, you can go to GarrahanOffroadTraining.com, and then you can go to Facebook, Garrahan Off-Road Training, Brian Garrahan, Instagram, Garrahan129, Twitter, Garrahan129M. A lot of social media sites like South Bay Rider, Over the Hill Gang, NorCal Motorsports, kind of stuff like that. I try and what's unique about my off-road school is a lot of trainers that just kind of offer like one program. They're going to offer like just motocross or off-road, where I kind of do a lot of different things. I do motocross classes. I do off-road classes. I do rental programs. I do beginner classes. I do open practice events. So I'm kind of really in the scene every week, every weekend, and just really involved in dirt bikes. I grew up racing bikes that let me travel the country and experience life for 15, 20 years racing bikes and making money. And now still at age 40, I'm still making money racing dirt bikes in a different way. But, I still get to buckle my boots every day pretty much and be on a motorcycle. So like I say, I love my life. Can't complain.
Hell yeah, dude. No, it sounds epic. And congrats on doing such a fantastic job at the ISDE. Thanks for dropping in here really quick. Obviously kind of short notice, but we really appreciate it. Before we let you go, thoughts on what Ryan Sipes did and your maybe either expectations, lack of expectations, or just kind of like the build-up towards him being able to do that, especially, kind of powering up against somebody like Daniel Milner, who's overall before, and this is his type of racing. So it's,
Yeah, it was, it was a great experience to witness that. I've been a bunch of times. I've been there when Caselli's been there. I was around when Dietrich was fast. I wasn't there, but I was around when watching Dietrich ride. And I was there when Ty Davis got, second overall. I was there when, Rodney Smith got second overall. So I've seen a lot of really, really good performances. And just kind of what I noticed about Ryan, is how level-headed he was the whole time and calm he was the whole entire time. There was no, pressure on him. It didn't seem like he didn't, and he was just so consistent. He didn't win every day. I think he only won one day, out of the whole entire 6 days, but he was just really consistent the whole entire event. And, he didn't even have the fastest time in the motocross, which everyone thought, he's the fastest guy, but he was just rode that race consistent and stayed level the whole entire time. And I've been to some events where, it's all grass track and really motocross orientated, but this event, it was a true off-road event. They had special tests that were motocross orientated. They had special tests with grass tracks. They had special tests that were routes and Rockies. They had ones with hill climbs. They pretty much threw everything off cameras. They pretty much threw everything that you could see in an off-road event at us, and he excelled. Was number one rider. What can you say?
That's epic.
Hats off to him. He's not even on a factory motorcycle. He's a support rider. So
yeah,
pretty cool.
And do you what bike were you on, Brian?
I rode a 252 stroke. I rode a W.
Okay.
I usually ride a 4-stroke. I haven't rode a 2-stroke since 2005 or something, like 11, 12 years. I bought my own bike. There was $1,000 rebate. I love the 4-strokes, but if something goes wrong, I can't really put my laptop in my fanny pack to work on the thing. You know what I mean? So it kind of sucks. You know what I mean? There's really, I kind of stare at it and scratch my head if something was going to go wrong. And some of the other riders, they had some problems with the electrical stuff, and I've had problems with my bike's electrical. So I'm going to ride a 2-stroke, and I was expecting the event to be muddy and sloppy and ruddy because I did the 6 days in Poland in '95, and that's kind of where I learned how to ride mud ruts and stuff. And it was I knew it'd be the same kind of terrain up in the mountains, ski resorts, and rocky. And I just thought the 2-stroke would be a good motorcycle to take there, Yeah. And I can't say enough for that bike. And some of my videos, you can just hear that bike. My bike was sounding sweet all week long. FMF had that thing dialed. Got a 4th place start on the 40-man gate with everyone on 450s. And all I did the whole entire week, I changed one set of brake pads. I didn't even change it. I rode the whole 6 days on one air filter. What? I didn't even change. Yeah, I just wanted to do it just to prove I could do it. I changed 2 pre-skins the whole entire time, but I raced the whole 6 days on one air filter, the whole entire event.
So you had
900 miles.
You did 2 pre-skins and just pulled it off of 2 days and then 2 days?
Yeah, exactly. After day 4, I didn't even have to do anything because it started raining. Day 4 was perfect. Day 5, it was wet all day, so it was perfect. And then I just pulled the pre-skin off for day 6 for the final moto so I could get that good start. And I was ready to go.
Sometimes you just got to be a badass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
period.
Just to prove to myself. Make Watsy proud, of course, because Shane's a real low in maintenance. But
yeah. Love it. That is epic. How cool would it have been if Caleb Russell would have been able to stay in it the whole time and won overall on a 250F? I mean, it's not as awesome as Shane Watts doing it on a 125, but I think it's pretty damn close. It
was pretty damn close, and I think if he would have got hurt, I definitely think he would have been in definitely the same contention that Ryan Sipes would have been. It would have been a great battle to the end. I hope him a speedy recovery, and hopefully he still wins that National Enduro Championship. I think he has the GNCC pretty locked up, but
yeah.
It's all part of the game. Unfortunately, it's a hard part of the season is right in the middle of a race series like that. But I think, like I said, it's people are going there because not to get paid for that event, but actually just for the competition and to see who's we want to be the best. That's why we're competitors. We want to show that we're the best, and that's a chance not to show you're the best in the U.S. That's to show that you're the best in the world. Caleb's already proved that he's pretty much the best in the U.S. right now, so he wanted to try and show he was the best in the world, but unfortunately. It didn't happen for him, and someone else prevailed, and luckily it was an American, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you very much for being on the show. Definitely going to have you on again. You are a character, and I can tell you we like characters on this show. So
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll happen, man. Well, good luck with everything, especially with your off-road training. Let us know how that's going. If we're ever on the West Coast, we'll come get a couple tips from a badass that could probably teach me more than just a couple things in life. So I'm down, man. It'll be a fun time.
Cool, man. I appreciate you having it, and thanks, Erek, for hooking it up, man, making it happen.
No problem. Couldn't have thought of anybody better for a radio show. So,
I think he just called you ugly.
I had to look my ugly mug, so it's all good.
Online thing. You know what I mean.
Thanks, Brian. We appreciate it, dude.
See ya.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate the time. I'll catch up to you guys, all right?
Later.
All right, see ya.
All right,
awesome.
Man, see ya.
Well, Erek, before we let you go, any last thoughts before we start closing it up?
Nothing. Just Ryan Sipes is a badass.
Yeah.
I honestly, when you had him on the show last time, he was just talking about how he wasn't comfortable yet this year. He had a couple good rides, a couple bad rides. So it's not that I was counting him out. I was like, Caleb's winning, whatever. And so not whatever, but I mean, Caleb's winning and Taylor's right there. And oh, look, Sipes is doing good too. And then it turned into the Ryan Sipes show, and holy cow. I'm a believer now. I wasn't not a believer, but I didn't expect it because he's done really well, but not this well before. And I guess the cards were just in it for him. And like I said, Ryan Sipes is a badass.
Yeah.
So.
There's never an asterisk in racing. I love that line.
Yeah.
Now that I've heard it. And that's it. I mean, like, that's the thing is it's like he did it, period. Like he went out there and rode his heart off. And just beat everybody in the world.
Everybody in the world.
Period.
Yeah.
And that's epic. Like,
that's so awesome.
And then won the final moto on top of it.
Yeah. And that was expected for sure. I mean that needed to happen. Like he's got to do that. And so it was really cool to watch. It sucked to have to do it from America.
Yeah.
But you know what? It happens, and you can't spend money all the time to go overseas. So.
And if that didn't happen, this ISD would have really sucked. But since that happened, it made it like, oh, well, all right, it's still great. Yeah.
We didn't totally blow up all these bikes for, all right, cool, Ryan Sipes won.
Woohoo! Yeah, Ryan Sipes, woo! On a Husky. Woo!
Yeah, on a 350 too. That's what's epic.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a great event, and looking forward to next year in Spain.
El
So that'll be
Spaino.
cool. Are you going to try to qualify next year?
I'm gonna say yes, but we all know it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Just do like what I do and just enter, and everybody DNFs maybe.
I don't see myself getting to like. I want to go to a sprint. I mean, if I can make it to the Sprint Enduro next year, yes. It would be like if you're like Brian, come to Idaho and try to make it happen. It'd be like hell no. I'm just not. I'm sorry. Loved that race, but unless my dad makes the offer again, where that he's made it in the past lately. But if he goes, hey Brian, I'll drive the bike out there and I'll fly you. Like he'll pay to fly me out there. That means I don't have to pay for that. Like this is the offer. Like if that happens, I'd go do Idaho again. Until that happens, I'm not making that drive, man. That drive was horrible.
Well, what you got to do is you got to work it like me and turn it into a 30-day road trip.
Now
That's what I did.
That could be way more cool.
That would be
I
way
came
more
back
cool.
with a dog. It was great. Yeah.
What's her
I got
name?
a dog? No, I got a dog now. He's in the other room sleeping probably, but yeah, I
Licking his
picked up a
balls.
dog at the ranch in Utah.
That's so awesome.
Then we went to Wyoming for the National Enduro, which was like the hardest race I've ever done in my life.
Then it became a we,
And then-
like it was him, and then
And
we
that was
because
a
we got
dog.
the dog.
Yeah, a dog.
And then
dude.
now it's us. That's what it was. And he was playing with Factor KTM and Stuart Baylard's dog, and it was fun.
Name drop.
Now they're having sex. They've
Dogs.
got kids. I'm like now related to the Baylors somehow. It's an epic
Yeah.
life, man.
Yeah, it's so good. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, no,
Your dog is
ISDE
famous.
Dude, ISDE was good, and next year's gonna be better. And then we're finishing up every series this year, so it'll be cool.
I agree. Well, cool, man. We appreciate you coming on the show as always. It's been a long time, and I'm sorry for that, but no, it's been great, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
No problem. It's good seeing you guys again. I like this angle because you guys are right there. It's good. Yeah, it's good.
That's a good angle.
All right, okay. Now it's Taco Tuesday. That's why I can never make it. So I gotta go.
All right, go eat.
Taco
Thank you for
Tuesday.
coming on the show. We appreciate it, man.
All right.
See ya.
All right, so an epic episode 180, I think. We did a pretty good job. So are you going to try to qualify next year for the women's team?
Next year, no. I'll still be in school. There's no way we will be able to afford anything like that.
But if there's a sprint enduro like this year, it happened kind of quick. There wasn't really time to prepare for it, you know.
But like we get really excited when we can afford like a sit down restaurant, like $20,000.
Well, no, but I mean, going to the sprint enduro
Qualifier. Okay.
is just over 17-hour drive maybe. Coop can do that asleep, literally.
He has before. Yeah, I would qualify. I think that would be fun. Would I go if we'd had like some epic fundraising?
Epic fundraising.
Yeah.
All of it.
I would love to go. That would be sweet.
Yeah.
I feel like I could be a pretty good women's team. Do the women not have to qualify anymore? They're handpicked as well.
That's a great question.
I'm assuming they are,
I want to say that they're picked, but
but
not
I
from
don't know.
not specifically from people that qualify.
Right, just picked.
Picked.
But I'd go on a club team if I could ever qualify on a club team too. If I couldn't make it to the women's team,
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
I went out girl a couple was a girl on a club team when I went.
That would be badass.
That would be sick.
It would. Cool. I'd love to try again. Like I very unprepared that first time. I know a lot more now, but at the same time, it's just harder. There's a lot of stuff going on in life, right, Steven? Shake your head. It's just so much stuff going on in life right now that I can't. Like, there's very little things that I can commit to next year, and so that's the tough part. It's like, if it happens, it's going to be a lot of the same way that it happened for Erek, where he was like, I'm going to try to qualify and see what happens.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, okay, cool, I'm going to try to qualify, so in January, this is what my months look like leading up to
Right.
it. Because I'm going to try to go. It's, you know what, there's a qualifier, I'm going to go. If I qualify, that's awesome. Maybe one day I'm going to have the time to be able to afford to go.
Yeah.
That would unfortunately have to be. No, that's not a bad thing. It just that's kind of where the mindset would have to be. You'd have to really.
You're not chasing the qualifiers.
Right. Yeah.
Trying to go.
It wouldn't not be that. But I do think being able to fit a full gas sprint enduro on the schedule next year would be fantastic.
Yeah.
And if it was the qualifier, I would
That
prefer
would be
that
sweet.
to be the one.
Yeah.
If we were to try to put that kind of a 4-day trip together. So I don't want to drive through the night with Cooper at the wheel and then drive home with Cooper at the wheel.
Cooper's
I'd rather
epic.
go in the RV and take our time and, lollygag a little and shit.
He would die in that situation. Like, it's go.
We would
pin it till
strap
we're
him to the
there.
seatbelt.
Yeah, you would
Strap
have
him
to.
down
'Cause
the
he'd be like,
seatbelt,
gotta get there right now. That's how we travel.
Well, I can tell you
Adjusted.
that RV does do 80. It probably shouldn't do 80 for very long, but it does do 80.
No, that would be really cool to hit that qualifier.
I like it.
And
All
then-
right, well, we'll start talking
see.
about that and see if we can make that kind of stuff happen. We had Creek Monster in the chat room talking about BG's a legend, going Creek style on those fools in Slovakia. I don't know what Creek style is.
Sounds
But
cool.
I'm going to just say, let's just go with it. So, yes, Brian Garrahan is a badass. We will try to have Ryan Sipes on next week to see if we can make up for what happened this week. I do know that it's just got to be nuts with everything that's going
yeah.
on. He did amazing. I'm sure everybody wants to talk to him. Family wants to catch up, all that kinds of stuff. So, yeah. Well, we'll chat with him soon. Of course, what you guys can do, we got this weekend, we've got GNCC Unadilla, so it'll be cool to see how that goes. Obviously, we hope things are good for Caleb Russell.
Yeah.
I'll try to check in just to see if I can get part of the prognosis. They get really secretive with that kind of stuff, so we'll see if we can talk about that. Black Hole National Enduro the weekend after that. There's all kinds of stuff going on, so it's cool. And then we're gonna have National Hare and Hounds picking back up. It's gonna be fun. Reviews. So remember, if you would like to try to win some Seat Time koozies, make sure that you go give us reviews. If you're going to do so, that would be awesome. We prefer them on iTunes. Have fun with it. Let me read this one again because this guy had a lot of fun with it. And he was honest. You got to love that. Good guest. Host is annoying, and I'm embarrassed for the guest at their times of awkward silence he creates. Glad someone is trying to promote off-road, however. How awkward is it for you when I make you feel awkward? Is it? Are you embarrassed?
How can I, what's a word that's more awkward than awkward? 'Cause
Epically awkward?
Epically to the farthest end of the scale awkward. But I keep coming back. So.
It's almost expected.
It would
is that a bad
feel
thing?
weird if it wasn't awkward. It'd be boring.
It's because they don't know Brian.
Yeah. If they're sitting on the other side of the screen, they never met you before, and they're like, this guy.
This
This is supposed to be serious.
Yeah, so what's funny though is I wonder how many people in real life talk to me all the time and stuff like that, and they go to their friends or whatever, and they're like, God, that guy's so annoying.
You need a disclaimer before the show.
Host is annoying.
I thought you were going to say in life, I just need to walk around with a disclaimer.
Like a business card handed to people before you talk
before
to
we
them.
start talking, be like, I could be annoying.
Yeah.
P.S.
Let me present this to you.
It could
You
get
know, my
weird.
family thinks I'm annoying sometimes. So there's that.
Just your family?
No, I mean everybody. They're honest about it though.
You're not annoying. You're
There's
just
awkward
Jordan.
silence.
You're just Jordan.
That's why we get along well, because we're just kind of
We're just
awkward
us.
and
we're
weird.
just us. All right, so we're going to continue to be annoying, but we're also going to try to promote off-road, however.
However,
So
we do our best. I mean, what more can you ask for?
yeah, we definitely thank our sponsors for their support of Seat Time. Again, Fly Racing, flyracing.com, Kenda Tire USA at kendatire.com, and of course, Stillwell Performance at stillwellperformance.com. So thank you guys very much for your support. There is a little support section in the sidebar now if you'd like to go check that out. Easy ways for you guys to use that. Of course, the Amazon link's probably the easiest. You click on that, shop on Amazon. Or there's the selfie that you could use. Now, what's
you
cool
can
is
take
you
selfies.
use that link. It's going to be in the show notes as well. Share that link and then go to the page, and then it automatically saves you like 40 cents. So it's like $1.59. So that's a great way if you're like, oh, $2. No. I'm not paying $2 for 15 minutes of off-road footage. That's ridiculous. Pay $1.60 by sharing the link out there.
And that's totally reasonable.
Totally reasonable. That's way better than
Those
$1.99.
40 cents, that'll buy you something.
And then get yourself some reviews. Do the best one. We'll read it on the show. And we'll get you some koozies. But of course, you're gonna have to reach out because at that point, you're gonna have to want them more than I'm gonna want to give them. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have to just make that make that work. Of course, this is Seat Time. You can find us at seattime.co. That's the website where we archive all the goodies. Lots of good stuff. Actually, Rachel Gudis' blog from the ISDE.
Yeah.
If you haven't read any of those are out there. So go check those out. Of course, all the photo epics that we've been doing, which we're gonna have another one coming up after October from a race that's not exactly moto related, but more on that as it develops. Thank you, Red Bull. And then, of course, you can find us on the Facebook. You can find us on Twitter, which is @seattime_co. On Instagram is @seattime. Please give us a like, a follow, a tweet, a handle, whatever. Of course, we're now playing around with Periscope. So if you want to do that too, it's just the same old @seattime_co. That was fun. We'll probably do that a little bit more. So thank you guys for tuning in. Episode 180. We're going to be hitting 200 soon.
Holy cow.
And we're definitely going to have to plan something fun and dig and different and just kind of goofy. Lots of mics, lots of people, lots of beer.
Yeah.
You can be sober.
Thanks.
The only one.
The only one.
That's fine with me.
I'll survive.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next week. Remember, always enjoy a pint full of awesome.
See ya.
Peace.